Hi there. I was walking through my local park a few days ago when I saw three migrant men, I think perhaps Somalians, walking towards me. They were behaving in an antisocial way, harassing women, making lewd comments at passers-by. And then as they came level to me, one of them abruptly jumped in front of my path and made like farting noise at me. And at which point he said, "Yo, what you farting for?" So I just looked at him and said, "Well, obviously I'm not fat, am I, dickhead?" Anyway, they carried on walking that way, but they were kind of still laughing and looking back towards me. And as I was walking in the opposite direction, I looked back at them, but with a bit more of a evil stare. Now, part of me wanted to go back and make a bit more of a fuss about it and let them know that you're not going to get away with this. But I just thought in the end, it's not worth it over something so trivial. Plus, you never know if they've got knives or weapons. They didn't seem like the nicest people. But interesting behaviour for those who have apparently just fled torture and death and have just been taken in by a friendly country like Britain. I'd like to think if I were in their position, I'd have a little bit more respect for the country that's just taken me in. I certainly wouldn't be walking around the local parks harassing women and just behaving like I own the place and having no respect. And if I did, I'd expect the locals and the police to make it pretty clear, pretty quick, that that kind of behaviour is not going to be tolerated. What was also instantly noticeable is that they all had designer clothes on. They all had Nike footwear, which cost up to £150. They all had shiny new phones, what looked like iPhones, which cost up towards £1,000. Now, these men, and it's always men, they don't work, they just hang around the park all day. How do they afford all this? Where are they living? Because they ain't homeless, they're not on the streets. I'm pretty sure they don't have mortgages, and rents around here are quite expensive. All seems rather odd for people fleeing death who came here in such a rush that they didn't even have time to bring the documents with them. These people are laughing at us. They've come here to soft touch holiday camp Britain and they know they'll get their free handouts and they can live it up at our expense. They even have that little respect for the place that they openly harass people and women on the streets and they don't care who sees them. They basically behave with impunity and no, nobody will say a word. This was 7 p.m. on an evening. The sun was still shining and there was quite a few people around. But what about if it's after dark and they encounter a lone female walking by on her own and no one else around? Can you imagine how intimidating it would be for her? Now, my partner's friend actually suffered a sexual assault in this very same park, and this was 8 a.m. on like a Tuesday morning, and there was quite a lot of people around on their way to work. Now, there has been a sharp increase in sexual harassment and assaults in this area, and it seems to be going up year on year. Now, the police forever talk a good game. Oh, we're going to stamp down on the crime, we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. But nobody dares talk about why there's an increase in sexual assault and harassment in the first place. We all know the link is to do with immigration. Soon as a place imports high numbers of young asylum seekers, migrant men, then the sexual assault rate increases. Now, no doubt I'll be called a racist for this, and it's often by those who have a hatred for Britain and they welcome this kind of mass immigration. They love watching these antisocial migrants destroying our country. And they'll just shout down racist to anybody who gets in the way of their plans. Now, I'm not against all immigration. There's plenty of foreign students, many of them Chinese, and every last one of them appears to be model citizens. They respect the local customs and culture. They seem to get out and get involved, and that's great. Hope you enjoy your stay in England, and we welcome you. But open borders for migrant men like these has to be a massive red flag. They're be kind, rainbow, unicorn, liberal types. I'll no doubt pretend these men are all angels, and again, shout racist at anybody who dares speak about it. But we need to call it out, and we also need to call out these human rights lawyers who are happy facilitating the destruction of our country. The government either has no interest or its hands are tied when it comes to illegal immigration. The Rwanda plan was a complete waste of time. It wasn't worth the paper it was written on. These people have no right to be here. They don't respect our country, our customs, our culture, and we want them gone. Now, I bet if the UK was at war tomorrow, they'd be the first ones on boats straight back across the channel claiming asylum in France. That tells you all you need to know about these people. Unfortunately, they'll keep coming and there's nothing we can do about it. So the sexual harassments and sexual assaults will just continue to rise.